information about you and then uses it to commit fraud.
Identity theft is very serious.
We know that identity fraud in its various forms has affected 10 million people in any given year. And what that means in dollars is that it's a loss to businesses of about $50 billion. On top of that, victims of identity theft have spent $5 billion trying to undo this harm.
Everyone needs to be conscious that identity theft is real.
When you get news that your identity has been potentially stolen, it's sort of this open-ended problem that has occurred, and you don't know what's going to come of it.
No one's immune, which isn't to say that we're powerless.
And this morning on Today Investigates, the new twist on an old crime. Identity thieves now targeting babies. NBC's Jeff Rossen is here with information that parents really need to know. Jeff, good morning.
Yeah, this is an important one, Ann. Good morning to you. I know your kids are in high school now, and so they're a little older for this, but for a lot of us younger parents, the question you have to ask yourself, when was the last time you checked your child's credit report? I know I haven't. I have 2 little girls. And the crooks know it. Now they're so advanced, they can actually steal your baby's social security number before they're even born, racking up millions in debt. This morning, we track down the alleged thieves and show you exactly how they do it. Egan is only 2 years old, but already owes thousands in credit card debt and has declared bankruptcy.
You think this must be a joke, and then you realize, no, this is actually incredibly serious.
9-year-old Riley is in default on utility bills. Her social was stolen 11 years before she was even born.
As a mother, I was shocked and angry and violated.
Katie was only 3 years old when crooks stole her identity. Now, as a teenager, her credit report shows over $750,000 in debt, all at the hands of ID thieves. A scary thought for a young girl.
I think that because it is illegal, they should be in jail.
But they're not. In fact, we found 2 men using her identity, living free.
Never in my wildest dreams had I thought to run a credit check on my son, and what parent would run a credit check on their child who's in diapers, who's crawling?
Stealing their socials is easier than you think. That number is actually a code. The first 3 digits stand for the state it was issued in. The last 6 digits stand for the approximate date it was issued. A clue to the person's birthday. Now, using simple software, crooks can actually predict kids' numbers, meaning when your newborn gets their number at the hospital, it may already be stolen. Which is exactly what happened to Riley. Her mom discovered it years later by chance on a family credit check.
The government gave me a bum number that obviously they hadn't cleared. It's a financial birth defect. And the parents aren't warned.
And in many cases, police don't have the time or resources to catch these crooks.
What can parents do if they suspect their children's identities have been stolen?
Right, so if you do that credit check and it comes back that the identity is stolen, really only one thing you can do is immediately put a freeze on your child's credit, so that way it'll prevent any future theft. But it will take years for you to call the credit card companies and the credit bureaus. The burden is on you to prove that your identity has been stolen, and it is a major pain.
It is infuriating.
Yeah.
Jeff Rossen, thank you so much this morning.
Every time Stancy Nesby looks in the rearview mirror, she can't help but wonder if she's about to be pulled over.
Everybody needs to put themselves in my shoes and know that this could happen to them.
A 30-year-old single mom with 4 kids who holds 2 jobs working as a nurse's assistant, life was hard enough before her problems with police.
It's made it really hard for me to smile and be the normal person that I felt like I was at first.
It started 4 years ago when Stancy was pulled over for speeding in the Bay Area. She admitted going too fast, but couldn't understand why she was being arrested.
I ended up going to jail that day. They didn't believe anything I was saying.
It turned out Stancy had a warrant for her arrest. The police databases showed she'd been busted for cocaine possession here in San Francisco's seedy Tenderloin district back in 1999, but that she never showed up for court appearances. Stancy had to spend 3 days in jail. The problem, she was innocent. Police later confirmed it when her fingerprints didn't match the real suspect who had used Stancy's name.
I've had nightmares about this.
She says police told her they'd fix the problem, but 2 months later, Stancy was arrested again, this time at her home in Berkeley. Once again, she says when the officers discovered the error, they told her they'd help her clear her name. But 3 months later, Stancy was arrested again in yet another jurisdiction. And it didn't end there. From 2002 to 2004, Stancy was arrested or detained 7 times by 5 police departments. In one instance, hauled off right in front of her children.
The kids were crying, and basically they ended up, throwing me on the ground and sticking their knees in my back.
Every time, she says authorities promised to fix the problem, but didn't.
Maybe it's because I'm not a rich person that they feel like I'm nobody. But I am somebody and I have feelings, and I don't think that they should run people's lives like this.
Stancy filed this lawsuit against San Francisco, claiming false imprisonment and emotional distress after failing to remove her arrest warrant from state databases. Her attorney says the case is clear-cut.
You think you've seen so many cases that you're jaded to what you're going to see, but this one still hits you at a very kind of visceral level. You just look at it, you say, this is not right.
The city says it's not responsible for correcting faulty arrest warrants. It also notes that Stancy was never arrested in San Francisco, but concedes she was wronged.
This is something that I don't think you would wish on your worst enemy. You pray it doesn't happen to you.
No one has taken responsibility for Stancy's ordeal. The courts ruled against her twice. Her attorney says he'll appeal to the state Supreme Court if necessary.
Bureaucracies don't change because people wake up and want to make them more efficient. They generally change because they're forced to take responsibility for something that they're doing that they shouldn't be doing.
I just can't believe that people that are supposed to be helping, people that are supposed to protect and serve, would actually hurt somebody who's innocent.
Even though a judge dismissed her lawsuit, the court asked the DA to remove the warrant from the database, which finally cleared her name. Still, she can't help looking in the rearview mirror. Dan Simon, CNN, San Francisco.
Audra Schmierer has been a stay-at-home mom for 6 years. Now that her son's in school, she wants to return to work, so she applied to a temp agency.
They called me 3 or 4 hours later and said, Mrs. Schmierer, I don't understand why you're applying. You already work here.
At a big tech company, a similar experience.
Here's my driver's license, my passport, my social security card. I gave him everything. And she said, well, really, how can you actually prove you're you? What if those people have the same documentation you do?
Schmierer has discovered more than 200 illegal aliens throughout the United States are doing jobs Americans supposedly won't do by using her social security number. They work in fast food chains, cosmetic companies, even receive dividends from Microsoft.
I started to gather all this information and really found out how extreme the situation was. It's scary.
Her ordeal began last year with a bill from the IRS for nearly $16,000 in back taxes for a job in Texas. She lives in Dublin, California.
My husband was actually quite upset. He asked me when I had ever been to Texas.
She tracked down the illegal alien whose phony tax return triggered the IRS bill. He told her he'd bought her social security number and a fake green card at this Texas flea market.
I don't understand how illegal aliens can come across here and commit a felony. Identity theft is a felony. And be excused from that felony to continue living their life when I cannot live my life.
By January, Schmierer faced a $1 million IRS bill. She was temporarily detained by Customs returning from a foreign business trip with her husband, and her Social Security account now shows a zero balance, erasing 14 years of work before her marriage.
Social Security right now sends me to IRS. IRS sends me to Social Security. Every now and then they'll send me to the FTC, whom I have a case with. No one wants to do anything about it. Right now, I have nowhere to go.
Schmierer spends several hours a day trying to clear her name. The IRS has canceled her bill, but Social Security won't give her a new number. She says all 35 employers she's contacted have refused to take action against the workers using her number.
It's cheap labor, and they don't care.
Neither do most senators. John Ensign brought Schmierer's case to their attention, and they still approved Social Security benefits for illegal aliens using stolen identities.
The crime of identity theft and Social Security fraud are not victimless crimes. The victims of these crimes are American citizens and legal immigrants.
Casey Wyand, CNN, Dublin, California.
I was absolutely floored. You just would never imagine in a million years that something could happen like this.
Several months ago, Andrea Sachs got an alarming phone call. Her newborn baby had just tested positive for illegal drugs. Problem is, Andrea hasn't given birth in years.
As much as I denied it, they just kept insisting that, yes, I was the mother of this child. There was nothing that I could say to get out of it.
To make matters worse, authorities showed up at her door the next day, calling her an unfit mother and threatening to take away all 4 of her kids.
When you know you're innocent and you didn't do anything wrong, it just absolutely, I was in tears. I was a wreck.
Turns out, Andrea was the victim of medical ID theft. Someone had stolen her driver's license, walked into a hospital, and had a baby, leaving Andrea with a $10,000 bill and a fight to clear her name.
Do you think it's a big problem?
It's a huge problem.
Chris Dorn is a fraud expert with Ingenix, a company that tracks medical ID theft cases. He says victims have more worries than just fraudulent doctor bills. Your medical records can also be altered, with the crook's information substituted for your own.
Inadvertently, your blood type can be changed, your medications that you're on that can be changed, your underlying medical conditions can be changed.
Which can be life-threatening.
Certainly.
That's a scary thought.
It is.